Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader. Today we're going to be doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Overall, good week. A lot of scandals, political scandals. We'll talk about that. Obviously, most of you guys probably heard about the situation with Twitter. On Monday, we had the markets go a little bit higher. We had a great tech rally. All three of the benchmarks, which means the Dow index, the Nasdaq index, and the S&P 500 index, they all were close to arriving at record territory. Tuesday, the market went lower. It snapped a 4-day winning streak as markets felt I think the right way to say it, I always do the Spanish videos first. So my mind now is thinking in Spanish. But they are considering more that the stimulus is going to come after the election. Wednesday, the market was lower. Investors considered the less than stellar earnings reports in addition to the stalemate about the stimulus in Congress. Thursday, the market was lower as well with a spike in corona cases and a larger forecast of the first time unemployment jobless claims this week. Say that 3 times fast. The seasonally adjusted number was 898,000 for the week ending October 10th. Versus 845,000 the prior week, and economists had forecasted just 825,000 for the applications last week. Friday markets were mixed. Timeline for the development for the corona vaccine can be attributed to that, and much better retail sales data. U.S. stock market for the week, the Dow is up 0.06%, up 0.24% for the year. The S&P 500 is up 0.19%, up 7.83% for the year. And the Nasdaq was up 0.79%, and it was up 30.08% for the year. The international markets in Europe, they were mostly lower this week. The biggest loser was the SOC in Paris in France, the CAC 40. If any of you guys are French, feel free to help me to pronounce it, because my French is not s'il vous plaît. Negative 2.26%. Latin American markets were mixed as well. The Merval had a huge jump in Argentina. That went up 6.90%. Africa and Middle Eastern markets were mixed. The biggest winner was Saudi Arabia at 1.67%, while South Africa was negative 0.24%. And in the far east, the SEC in China was the biggest winner at 1.96%. Thailand, biggest loser at 2.71%, while the Philippines was down 0.56%. No big news this week with Bitcoin or cryptos, other than the fact that it still did not get to 50,000 this week. I don't know if you guys remember. It's supposed to be this year, and then last year, and then the year before that. Still hasn't gotten there yet. So for the week, I always laugh. I mean, it's whatever you believe about Bitcoin. I'm not a huge, I'm not like one of these guys that think it's the new Jesus. But I just think it's a little bit funny how it's always it's always next time. So for the week, it went down 0.90%, 11,310 with 30 cents. In finance and banking news, the S&P Global top sovereign analyst from the S&P Globals. So if you guys don't know what that is, there's essentially people that work for the S&P 500. Standard & Poor's is a company, so the S&P 500 is an index, right? So you guys probably have heard of the S&P 500. But Standard & Poor's, what they do is they qualify the debt. So, for example, we wouldn't really want to invest in debt from, for example, Argentina or Nigeria or possibly the Philippines, right? So what they do is they qualify the debt to make sure that, the interest rate or the cost of servicing the debt, for example, the interest rates, if you're going to invest in a country that's a little bit more risky, then you probably want to have a little bit higher interest rate because of the risk. So what they're saying is that they could see a downward warning on a lot of the credit ratings due to the second global wave of the coronavirus. So they're going to look at revising about 60 countries due to the situation with the coronavirus. Data showed that U.S. retail sales increased far more than expected in September, while consumer confidence improved in early October. This, to me, is one of the most important numbers and something that you should pay attention to as well. I know they always throw all of these economic numbers out there, but at the end of the day, in the United States, still the biggest country in the world, in terms of the economy, it's still nearly 70% of the actual economy when it comes to what the activity. Let's say nearly 70% is consumer spending. So this is why, for example, they inject money into the market supply, or they want the stock market to go up, because since most of our wealth is in the stock market, or a lot of our wealth, we should say, when the stock market goes up and we see our pensions and retirements go up, then we spend a little bit of money. We go and buy dinner for the beautiful lady, right? Other than that, commodities, oil dropped most by over a week at 2.9%. For quite a long time. This is due to two situations. Obviously, we had a shutdown of the production and the drilling in oil in the Gulf due to the hurricanes. Right now, it's still 69% shut down. Before last week, it was 92%. And also, Libya is opening its biggest oil field as well. OPEC and other oil exporters are also fearing the situation with the second wave of the coronavirus. This obviously is a situation due to the fact that if we have the coronavirus, especially a second wave, there isn't going to be that much of a recovery. If there isn't that much of a recovery, then that means that demand for oil isn't going to go up. And obviously the situation with Libya output. U.S. crude for the week is up 0.68% to $40.88. It's still down 33.38% for the year. International crude, which is called Brent, was down 0.07% to about $42.82. It's still down $35.11% for the year. Copper gained on Wednesday to $6,712 a ton in London after falling quite a bit on Tuesday, but it's rebounded 50% since March. Aluminum prices hit a 17-month high as the demand for top consumer China, along with expectations of stronger growth, come in as well. The lower dollar does help. So if you guys don't know, the majority of the commodities or physical products are priced in dollars, the majority of them, right? Oil, for example, is an exception because there's now other markets that have popped up, but if obviously it's a demand and supply. If there's more demand, then the price goes up, right? If demand goes down, the price goes down, but it's also connected to the dollar. So if the dollar rises in strength by a lot, that puts down pressure on these commodities as well. So if the dollar lowers, like it did, for example, recently, that helps a lot of these commodities go up. Overall for the week, precious metals were lower as the dollar does start to come from increasing pressure. The gold went down 1.62% to 1,900, where silver went down 3.91% to 24.27. If you guys have been following me for a while, I've been talking about silver for a long time. I got back into the miners recently as well. If you guys want me to do a video about that, I'll go ahead and do it. Political news, Belarus is now seeking the arrest of exiled opposition leader. I am not going to try to say it's Svetlana is the first name, but hopefully the guys will put it right here so you guys can see this name, because I'm not even going to try to do it. But he jeopardized national security just days after he called for a general strike when President Lukashenko did not yield to the protesters' demand to step down from power. AMLO, which is the president of Mexico, is saying that he's promising to clean up the armed forces, while he did in Latin America. I think it's hilarious. It's always one corruption scandal after another. The former defense minister from 2012 to 2008, his name is Salvador Cienfuegos, that means Salvador 100 Flames in English, is on drug charges in the United States. He backed the current leadership, but he said he wanted to make some changes because he's the one that's gonna fix things, obviously. Supporters of Pakistan, 9 opposition parties converging in the stadium city of Gujranwala on Friday. They're accusing the current presidential election, which is the one in 2018, to be installed by the military and being rigged. And Khan, which is the current prime minister, says that he's not afraid of the opposition. He was just saying that, they're obviously just making noise. In economic news, in the socialist revolution of Venezuela, it's actually where I'm from, if you guys don't know, for those of you guys that want socialism in this country, 90% of middle-class families in Venezuela are falling into poverty over the last decade. They have turned into making food and face masks and other cleaning products as well, especially because of the quarantine with the coronavirus pandemic, as it further weakened the economy. It already is collapsing under a 6-year recession, with inflation galloping at about 3,000%. That's what you get with socialism. And just, if you guys want to see, for example, the difference between a capitalist society and a socialist society. If you look in Latin America, all of the ones that lean socialist are not doing that well. The only first world country in Latin America is Chile, and they are a capitalist country. Sales in U.S. retail stores surged in September at 1.9% when the forecast was only 1.2%, rising for a fifth month in a row as Americans now, as we started opening up, go out and buy cars, eating out, splurging on clothes as well. That suggests that the economic recovery is still underway at the end of quarter three. Now, I don't want to get political because you guys know I try to always just give the facts. So no matter if you like Trump, hate Trump, love Obama, hate Obama, or whatever side you're on, better economic news is better for the chances of Trump winning the election, just so you guys know. U.S. consumer sentiment inched up to a 7-month high in October. Uptick in expectations for better economic prospects in the future outweighed the reversal of assessments and the current economic conditions. Central Asian region is going through a contraction currently of 1.5%, which is a phenomenon that hasn't been seen since 1995 when the USSR broke up. If you guys don't know what the USSR is, it's Russia, the country before it started breaking up into pieces. Other than that, they're expecting 2.7 and 3.7% growth going forward from 2021. In corporate news, Apple on Monday spiked 6.35% as the shares hit 124.40. The shares are up 69.45% in 2020. It's the biggest one-day gain since July 31st as the company reported their first iPhone with 5G. I hate to tell you guys who love the Macs, but my Samsung here has had 5G for over a year now. Facebook up 4.27% on Monday. It hit $275.75, grew revenue by 11% on a year-over-year basis to about $18.7 billion in quarter two. Deutsche Bank, which is the largest and mostly bankrupt bank of Germany, says that the recovery in the online ads market is underway as well. They're expected to accelerate their revenue in quarter four. And Amazon surged 4.75% as well on Monday. Their shares are up 86.32% in 2020 when they reported. One of the biggest winners of the pandemic, obviously, the year-over-year net sales growth accelerating to 40% in quarter two. They're expecting 31% increase in sales on an annualized basis. And Alphabet, which is the owner of Google, went up 3.58% on Monday when they reported an increase of 11% of the profits that grew. They're expecting 32.5% in quarter four of last year is what they had. Monday, or for the year, they're up 16.81%, and they're expecting to continuing to grow in 2022. Obviously these are good results overall, right, for a lot of these companies, but I don't like what's happening because of the quarantine. I don't want to get into the politics of the virus because obviously the CDC reported that there's a 99.96% survival rate. So people who get it, only 0.04% die, but I kind of just threw it in there, didn't I? But what has happened with this quarantine and the pandemic is there's been a huge transfer of wealth. I would say one of the biggest in our country, in the world, I would say. Because when we had the pandemic, you can't open your store, right? The small guy, the small businesses, you can't open your store. Restaurants are destroyed, right? But you can go to Walmart and buy stuff. You can buy stuff from Amazon and online. Obviously, they love the pandemic because it suits their business. So I don't like personally what has happened because whether you look at Germany or the United States, the biggest employers, the biggest movers of the economy are literally small business. Germany-based Daimler shares surged 4.5% on Friday, posted their quarter three results, which were beating the forecast. They're also improving their forecast due to the fact that there were a higher number than expected in the luxury sales of their cars. Sales of their luxury cars. I said it backwards, in the month of September. Trade news, China suspending the purchase of Australian coal as the Australian and the Chinese government continue to squabble with each other. Chinese power stations and steel mills were verbally told to immediately stop using Australian coal, and with ports ordered not to offload the Australian coal from the actual boats themselves. UK Prime Minister Johnson is threatening to go through a Brexit without a deal. This is going to create a lot of disruptions in terms of their economy. and could shave about $25 billion off the domestic economy in 2021. And in technology, Microsoft disrupted a massive hacking operation that said it could directly affect the election infrastructure, took down servers of a company called TrickBot, which is an enormous malware network that criminals were used to launch cyber attacks, including highly potent ransomware. So, it's okay if Twitter does it, obviously, right? But I'm sure you guys, if you guys don't know, there was a huge scandal with Joe Biden that there were New York Post published some information, some really negative information about Joe Biden, and Twitter actually was blocking the accounts of users that were sharing the link of the New York Post article. So there's more than one user, or one more than, obviously the election, as I mentioned to you guys before, no matter what side you're on, I think it's going to be heavily contested. A rocket built by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' space company, it's called Blue Origin, tested the tech designed to return humans to the moon in 2024. It's called the Shepard booster. And the rocket is carrying sensors, computer, and hardware that's going to help the space vehicle perform precision landings on other planetary bodies, which will be cool. Soon we'll just be able to go to the moon for vacation. Quarter two was the worst financial hit industry the worst financial history of the airline industry. Quarter three results are going to be similar. U.S. airlines alone reported combined losses of $12 billion in the second quarter as revenue plunged 86%. They're expected to lose about $10 billion in quarter three. Disney, due to the pandemic as well, their parks, for example, are closed in California still, whereas in Orlando they're open. I lost my place here. Give me 1 second. They're expected to reorganize their media and entertainment business to accelerate their streaming strategy. The Mandalorian Season 2 comes out October 30th. Very, very good. I highly recommend it. They have 60 million subscribers at this point. The stock is up over 5% in early Tuesday morning at about $131 a share, but their shares are down about 13.59% in 2020. Agricultural commodity buyers in many countries have been aggressively buying commodities and products. I'm going to tell you exactly what. Since the pandemic since it hit in March with the pandemic's quarantines, and not only countries, but also people in the United States buying record number of guns. There are also a lot of people starting to stock up on food as well. Jordan has built up record wheat reserves, while Egypt, which is the world's largest buyer of grain, top buyer, I should say, not the largest, boosted purchases by over 50% since April. Taiwan is going to boost its strategic food stockpiles, and China has been buying enormous amounts of feed to be able to feed its growing hog herd. Hog, if you guys don't know, is pigs. International events. Norway is accusing Russia of a cyber attack targeted in the parliament past summer on August 24th. Parliament didn't report the origin at the time or the time of the attack, but they did say that the attack allowed access to emails for a lot of prime ministers and also employees that worked in parliament. The Azerbaijan and Armenia squabbles are starting to escalate as well, with Azerbaijan denouncing Armenia on Wednesday, trying to attack its gas and oil pipelines. There was a ceasefire that Russia negotiated, but it didn't last more than 24 hours. And now there's a mountain enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh. And Armenia is obviously denying the allegation that they're attacking the infrastructure. Now, if you guys don't know the situation between Azerbaijan and Armenia, this has been going on for decades, but originally it has to do with essentially religion. Azerbaijan is more Muslim, or Armenia is more Christian, and so Russia, a Christian nation, supports Armenia, whereas Turkey, a Muslim nation, mostly Muslim, supports Azerbaijan. Now, right now it's not very big, but if it escalates and Russia or Turkey get involved, remember they have a very powerful military, so that can actually affect the outcome of the situation, and it could escalate into something a lot worse than what we want it to be, because obviously war is not good for anybody. So far, it's killed 600 people since September 27th. Second wave of corona is sweeping Europe as well. 100,000 new daily cases at the moment. Germany has had its highest ever confirmed cases in the past 24 hours. France declared a public health emergency. Italy has also surpassed its daily record of newly diagnosed cases. And the UK is actually debating whether they need another nationwide lockdown. I'd like to remind you that Sweden never locked down. never mandated masks. They don't have a second wave, and everybody's doing just fine. One of the things I found unusual, because I always look at facts, right? I don't react emotionally about things, because I was a little bit suspect in the beginning about this as well. But they always mention the cases, but they don't really ever mention the percentage of deaths. The CDC reported actually that the mortality rate is 99.96%, meaning 0.04% of all people die, which is about the same as a bad flu season. So it's really not that bad. Unusual fact, Saudi Arabia failed in an attempt to become a member of the UN Human Rights Council in the next 3-year term starting in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. In vote, it caused outcry among the human rights defenses, but China, Russia, and Cuba were all elected on Tuesday to be able to sit on the council, but because they do a great job with people's human rights. 7 months ago, Shanghai-based electric vehicle NIO was seen as a failure. The stock crashed to $3, and investors were calling the firm a disaster. Since March, it surged 1,000% to $26.50, and it gained more than 22% on Wednesday alone. And U.S. analysts are again advising investors to buy into the company. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.